What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This. This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we are going to be starting our talks on the Oath of Devotion Paladin, one of the most paladin-y paladins that you can possibly be as you devote yourself to a deity or just a higher ideal in general. And it comes with some pretty interesting features, but are they any good compared to the other subclasses? We're gonna have to find that out today. But before we do, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Of course, most of you who watch this channel are not subscribed. Yes, I know, I check. Go ahead and double check that you're not being one of those people. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out. And of course, we are trying to reach 5,000 subs by the end of this year. I think we can do it, but of course, I need your help in order to get there. So then, of course, make sure to click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded and share the video with your friends. Also, if you're interested in Pokemon content, I posted week 1 of our new Draft League series that we are a part of, the SSBA. That went up on Sunday, and so make sure to check that out. Of course, battle number 2 will be up later this week on Sunday, and so I hope you guys will check that out as well. But let's go ahead and jump back in to the Oath of Devotion. So like I was saying, the Oath of Devotion is very, very on brand for the Paladin. You are pretty much aligned to a deity, to an ideal of doing good. You're kind of a goody two-shoes paladin, pretty much. And so it does kind of paint you in a corner as far as how to play out the character, but there of course still is a lot of different ways that you can change things up and make it your own. So let's go ahead and see how it compares to the other subclasses. Starting off, of course, at level 3, we get our oath spells, just like every other subclass does. And our list here really is kind of meh because almost all of them are already on the Paladin list. Of course, we have things like Flame Strike, Freedom of Movement, that kind of thing that are not already on the list. But ultimately, we have almost all of these on our list already. And so that does become a little redundant. Yes, of course, it is nice to not have to use your prepared slots on things like this because the spells that are here aren't bad necessarily, but I do like the flexibility of being able to get things that are not already on my list. And this really just doesn't do that, unfortunately. So overall, because the spells are not terrible, but they don't provide a lot of variety over the normal base kit, I'm gonna have to go with a 6 out of 10. If we had more variety, then I would be able to go higher, but I also can't go any lower because the spells here aren't bad spells. So it just kind of rides that line between good and bad. At level 3, we also get our Channel Divinity option, just like every other Paladin subclass, and we get 2 options unique to us. The first one is going to be Sacred Weapon, and this one actually makes it easier for us to land our hits. So we can take our action and use this Channel Divinity, and then for 1 minute we can add our Charisma modifier to attack rolls that we make with that weapon. It then also will emit bright light, and if it is not magical before, it becomes magical, which can be really good when it comes to overcoming resistances. We also get Turn the Unholy, and this is basically just turn undead. However, it also works on fiends. Otherwise, it works exactly the same, which we went into a lot of detail when we talked about the cleric, which I'll put up in the icon above for you to check out. But basically, they have to run away from you if they fail a save, and that can be pretty nasty, and it can just end an encounter before it really even gets started. So that can also be very useful. So these 2 features combined are not bad. And honestly, I think that Sacred Weapon is vastly underrated. I typically see this not being used all that much, or at least being undervalued in what people think about it. Being able to add your Charisma modifier to the attack rolls is kind of huge, because it's not a one-time thing and it makes your weapon magical. So you're more likely to hit, you're more likely to be able to land all of those smites, you are going to be getting around non-magical resistance. There's a lot of really good things that come out of this. The biggest drawback is that it's your action. And really, if this was a bonus action, this would kind of be perfect. This would be fantastic. But Unfortunately, that being an action causes you to want to have to you have to anticipate combat, which isn't always going to be the case. And then of course, Turn the Unholy is better than the stock feature because we also get fiends in here, so that's also not too bad. Overall, this is a pretty decent combination, at least the way that I see it. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 personally. I think that it's actually quite good. And I think when people say that it's no good, I really think you're overlooking just how good it is to have a magical weapon at level 3 that has a really big bonus on its attack rolls, which can help you to land smites a lot more reliably, or at least just deal some damage if you're not even doing smites. At level 7, we get Aura of Devotion, and this actually makes us immune to the Charmed condition, and this also extends out from us by 10 feet, and it will increase to 30 feet when we reach level 18. This is a pretty good thing, honestly. We've talked about preventing Frightened condition previously, we've talked about preventing a couple other things, but the Charmed condition, while it's not the most common thing in the world, when it does come up, it's normally pretty nasty. And so this can really help out. You as a paladin definitely don't want to be charmed, especially if it is something like a domination spell where you are now going to town on your friends. That would be really bad. And so this can completely prevent that, which makes you that much more effective to me, honestly, and just gives your allies a lot more reason to stick close to you in order to avoid what can be a really, really nasty condition. So overall, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I think it's really fantastic. If Charmed was more common, I think I would go higher, but honestly, Charmed is just so nasty when it lands, especially at higher levels. I really think it deserves this high of a ranking. At level 15, we get Purity of Spirit, and this allows us to have the Protection from Evil and Good spell constantly affecting us, which is pretty cool. If you don't know what that spell does, it's really nice actually, but most people don't want to use a spell slot on it. Well, we don't. So we are now imposing disadvantage on all attack rolls from certain types of creatures coming in against us. These include aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. The majority of creatures that are out there. So, of course, it's not going to affect things like humanoids, giants, constructs, things like that. But I mean, this is going to catch most things, especially at level 15. You're going to be fighting angels, you're going to be fighting demons, you're going to be fighting all these things, and this catches pretty much all of them. And on top of that, while we already had immunity to the Charmed condition, this also adds on top of that the Frightened or Possession type of things coming in. And so that can also be really cool, right? So overall, it's a pretty great spell to have constantly going, especially here at high level in most cases. Because it's not going to be all the time, I can't give it a 10 out of 10 because it's just not quite there. But overall, I think it's worth an 8. I think having this is completely worth an 8 out of 10 overall. Just being able to impose disadvantage on all of that stuff is a really, really valuable defensive feature. Finally, at level 20, we get Holy Nimbus, and this is our Super Saiyan go crazy type of feature that every paladin gets at level 20, and ours is a little bit different than most others. So for 1 minute, once we activate this as an action, bright light will shine from us in a 30-foot radius, and then dim light for an additional 30. Whenever a creature starts its turn within the bright light, enemy creatures only, so this does not hit friends, that creature will take 10 radiant damage. In addition, it will also grant you advantage on saving throws against spells that are cast by fiends or undead. And of course, we can only use this once per day. Now, as far as capstones go, this is definitely one of the more meh or even not so great capstone features at level 20. The bright light could make you kind of the center of attention, and then hopefully that disadvantage on attack rolls will come into play depending on what you're fighting, of course. And then advantage against spells by fiends and undead can be really nice in certain campaigns. Of course, there are going to be certain campaigns where this does not come up at all, and there are going to be some where it does. So overall, I don't think that this is nearly as applicable, especially with only dealing 10 damage every turn. I just don't think that that's quite worth it to me. So overall, this capstone is going to get a 6 out of 10. I just don't think it's that great. It doesn't really combo into the rest of the features all that well, and it doesn't grant anything crazy overall. So what do we think of the Oath of Devotion Paladin? This one, it's decent, right? I think it's pretty good. Overall, though, when I'm looking at all of these features, I'm okay with everything, but I'm not overly impressed, right? There's nothing here that's inherently bad, right? There's nothing here that makes me think this is a bad subclass. I would never want to play this. No, I think that this has some pretty decent stuff overall, but it's nothing that is going to blow me out of the water, right? So when I'm looking at all of this, it doesn't necessarily stack on top of each other in any certain way. We don't get to take advantage of anything. At least, you know, we have a feature here and then we get to combo into it later on. We don't really get that here. So overall, I just don't see it as an overall cohesive kit, at least not nearly to the extent that I see that with other subclasses that we've covered. And so for that reason, I've got to take off a little bit there. Now, when I'm thinking about how much to take off here, I'm thinking, okay, we gave a 9 out of 10 to the Conquest Paladin. Is this as good as that? I personally don't think so. I also don't think that it's anywhere near as bad as the Oath of the Crown, right? So it is going to be somewhere in between. I'm comfortable giving this the same ranking that I gave the Oath of Ancients Paladin and going with an 8 out of 10. Like I said, it's good, right? There's nothing inherently bad about this, and I really do think that Sacred Weapon is kind of slept on, at least by most people. I also think that Aura of Devotion can be slept on a little bit depending on what you're fighting. But I mean, I think that these features are going to come up at least a decent amount, and you can kind of feel that out depending on your campaign. But I would say for the most part, you're going to get a decent amount of value out of this, and I don't think that you would ever regret playing this subclass. So that is our ranking for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below what you thought of this ranking. Is this too high, too low? Am I completely off? Let me know down in the comments below. Of course, later this week, we're going to be building one of these together, and I am very much looking forward to that. And then, of course, on Sunday, we're going to have week 2 of the SSBA Pokemon Draft League. So I hope you all will watch that as well. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.